Hey, what's going on, everybody? How are you? Welcome to the show. My name is Chris Vaglio, if this is your first time watching, and I am the host of The Rocket Live. So, welcome to another live episode as we do every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I am back with another wonderful guest for you all to meet and hear from today. But before we get going, as always, I love to definitely bring some attention to our amazing show sponsor, and that is the 7 Days of Simple Podcast Marketing, sponsored by KerryZarb.com. Kerry Zarb is a podcast marketing coach, and guess what? She's taken all of the hard work out of trying to figure out how to market your podcast. She has created a 7 Days of Simple Podcast Marketing for you to get for free by heading over to KerryZarb.com/simple. That's KerryZarb.com/simple. If you are a podcaster and you are looking to get the word out about your podcast, get more notice, increase your audience, well, head over to KerryZarb.com/simple because she has created the 7 days of simple podcast marketing. And we are so happy to have Kerry Zarb as our official show sponsor of Rocket Live. Excellent. So thank you all. Make sure you use the link in the show notes to access that right now so you can go check it out. And of course, if anybody wants to connect with me directly, you can head over to, actually, you can do it by your phone. Just text the words "Let's Rock," no space. That's the words "Let's Rock" with no space to 88500, and that will give you instant information to contact with me. All my contact info will be downloaded directly to your phone, and you can connect with me instantly as well. So just text the words "Let's Rock" to 88500, and from there you'll of course also have access to all my links. You could join on my mailing list, you could join my community on Discord, all that fun stuff, and get to connect with me as well. So text the words "Let's Rock" to 88500. All right, and with that out of the way, I want to welcome my very special guest on the show. We have Nikki Gangemi on. How are you, Nikki? Welcome.
Yes, I'm awesome. How are you doing?
Very good. I'm so happy to have you on here right now. As we were just talking behind the scenes a little bit, it feels like we were talking about having you on ages ago. And then, of course, I got a little sick, so we had to postpone. But I'm so happy we could get you on, and I'm so anxious for everybody to hear about everything that you're up to and everything that you're doing. You and I we're connected recently, and we had such a great conversation. I get to learn about so much about what you're doing, and I just find it also fascinating, interesting. And I think at the end of that, I was like, I got to have you on the show. I got to get you on as a guest because I think you just would be awesome. And you're such a rock star in your own right. And your story, I just think, is really cool. So I appreciate you coming on the show today. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate you having me and being willing to have this conversation. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm really excited to dive into it. And for everybody watching live right now, feel free to chat with us live. You can drop your comments or questions in the chat box, and we will bring them up as we go. Or, if you want to wish us well wishes or say hi or whatever, we'll bring them up too. So, yeah, just feel free to join us live. And for everybody watching the replay of this, we appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for hanging out, and thank you for spending some time with us today. Make sure you hit that follow button wherever you're watching or listening to this right now, because that helps grow the show. All right, Nikki, tell us all about it. Wellness coach, mindfulness. I love it. Everything that you're doing. Lay it on me. What is it? Tell everybody what it is that you do. Like, what is your superpower?
Thank you. So my superpower, as I like to say it, is that I'm a personal trainer for your mind.
I love that. I love that.
We have it for our bodies, right? To get strong and have more flexibility. And so we can have it for our mind too, right? To learn how to have more of a growth mindset. And so that's what I do. That's what I help people with. I find, and maybe you found this too in school, were you ever taught how to think or just what to think?
I think I used to be told, just think about it. So yeah, I don't think I've ever been told any like specific like way to think. I mean, when I got much older, obviously, as an adult, but I think it's more important when you're actually in those developmental, see, I can't even put words together, developmental and formative stages early in your life, in childhood. I think stuff like that is really important. And, to my memory, be it as it is, I don't really remember being taught that or talking about that much in school.
Exactly. Yeah. I remember being told what to think. I would remember being told, well, this is the way it is, and it's because I said so.
Hmm.
And if you did think differently and nobody else did, you were kind of outcasted, right? For
Oh,
being different.
absolutely. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. If you weren't on the same wavelength as everybody else, I mean, you don't want to be ostracized, is
Exactly.
that pressure you feel of wanting to fit in and wanting to be accepted.
Yeah. And you know what the funny thing is? I mean, it's really not funny. I don't know why I said that. But it's that even though and I'm sure a lot of the people watching did try to fit in and just think what we were told, you were still ostracized. You were
Yeah.
still, put to the side for being different. So that's what I love helping people do, is to really just own who you are and learn how to think so that you could feel better. So that's why I say personal trainer for your mind. So that's what I do. Success in life coach, NLP practitioner, hypnotherapist. We've got tons of different tools that you can use to really just completely change the way you think. When you have certain results in your life, we're happy with some of the results that we have, but there's
Right.
other things that we don't like and we want to be different. And so long as we keep looking at what is, we keep perpetuating more of that. So I help you to live into the results that you want for yourself in any area of life.
Yeah, and I think that's really fascinating because I think that is something that, and I know for me, for my, when I'm doing my coaching, I mean, I dive into some mindset stuff. We don't go nearly as deep as what you do. A lot of the work that I'm doing is really talking about, there's some reoccurring themes about, imposter syndrome, or feeling more confident, dealing with head trash, and sort of this reality that we build for ourselves that we begin to believe is real. Like we put ourselves in our own matrix, and
Yes.
and that's sort of the things that I touch on and work with entrepreneurs and creative professionals and all that. But what you do is you go really, and I'm not a therapist at all. I don't claim to be
Oh,
one
me
or anything like that.
neither. Me
And
neither.
so I always like to put that out there as a disclaimer. But that's kind of where I feel like I'm always just scratching the surface of it, because I'm only relating to the things I dealt with over my time, being involved in business ownership and being a creative, and things that I've been through and fought through. But I
Mhm.
like that you go a lot deeper than that, and you're working on these different areas of the way people feel, and I think what we've all been going through as a global society, if any more than anything, has brought to attention how important mindfulness, mental well-being, all how important it is. I mean, we've always focused on the physical aspects, but like, honestly, if you don't have a healthy mind, it's impossible to have a healthy body.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what I thought myself. I mean, so I came from teaching. I taught elementary school for 15 years, and it
Yep.
was a huge mindset shift to go
Yeah.
from employee to entrepreneur. Totally.
Yeah, I can imagine that, and I was gonna bring that up because I know that about you because we talked. But yes, that you made that, and see, I love that you made this. This is for everybody out there, everybody who's listening and watching this. Once again, just because you start down one path doesn't mean you're set in that. Like, you're locked in. You can make the changes to go into other areas of exploration, things you want to get into. And so, Nikki, I think that would be great if you could share a little bit about that, because yeah, you were on that path. I mean, you were a teacher, and it wasn't like you were just in it for a year. Like, you were in it, you were doing it, and then you had the spark, the urge, the passion to make that change. So can you talk about that?
Thank you. I will. So my first big dream was to be an actress. That's what I wanted from the time I was a little kid. And you hear that, acting isn't stable and all of that. So my parents, they wanted the best for me. So they pushed me to go to college and get a degree in something useful. And and I did. I did, but I still went out to LA when I was 23 and I gave it a go, but only for a year. And I didn't believe in myself. I bought into like what you're told, that it's not a
Right.
stable career and it takes a lot to make it. You've got to be really lucky. Now, when I work with clients, I'm like, question everything you were ever told. Who says, right? So
Right.
I listened to that. I came back home, and then everybody was like, well, you got to do something, be a teacher. And I said no. I said no several times until I finally just
Yeah.
said yes. You ever just give in, you know?
Of course, yeah, you just go, "You know what? Oh, maybe I should
Yeah,
just do this. I don't know. Maybe
I
this is the
know.
universe saying I should do it." You know, and you do. You
You
talk yourself
do.
into it.
Exactly. I was doing little odd jobs here and there and waitressing. And there came a point where I was like, actually, my best friend said, why don't we become teachers together? She's like, we'll take the praxis, which is the state exam.
Right.
We'll become teachers. We'll have summers off. And I'm like, oh, all right, I'll do this with you. So we go, we take the test. I pass. She fails. I become a teacher. She doesn't. But then I
Uh,
stayed, and that was on me. So I ended up
right.
staying for 15 years. And you know how fast time goes, right?
Oh,
It's like
yeah.
the months go by, and what do? You complain, you wait for Friday, Sunday comes, and you're like
Mhm.
dreading Monday. And I did that for a really long time. Probably about maybe 12 or 13 years in, one of my coworkers is Nikki. Instead of complaining, why don't you bloom where you're planted? And I didn't know what that meant at first. And I just
I love
kind of let
that.
it sit on the back burner, like I
Yeah.
should put that on the back burner. And all of a sudden it came to me and I thought, I'm teaching in the same school district that I went through as a kid myself.
Mhm.
And throughout all of middle school and high school, I was picked on, bullied, excluded. And then I let it become who I was, that I'm the girl that doesn't fit in, that I don't belong, that why am I even here? And I really
Right.
struggled growing up. So I saw the same things happening in school. Kids don't have coping skills. They don't know how to think, right? It's all
Yeah.
about the test.
Yeah. I mean, you don't know how to. I mean, that was a long time ago, but I mean,
Mhm.
you don't know how to process. The kids just don't know how to process these kinds of things and these feelings, and we deal with it much differently as adults than we deal with as kids.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was my first step. I said, mindful matters just popped into my mind. And I thought, I'm going to create a mindfulness program that teaches these kids what to do with the negative thoughts and what do they do with those emotions that they're feeling because they don't know how to deal. So the principal let me pilot the program, and that was the start of it.
Which is so cool.
Yeah.
I love that. It's something that, and this is how most entrepreneurs. This is how you start, right? It's built off of something that you've experienced, yourself personally, and then you're able to now see it happening around you, and then you figure out, well, what can I do to serve? How can I create
Mhm.
something that's going to help people, help change lives, help get people to where they need to be? And I think I think it's really wonderful that you started there and you're working with the kids, and I think
Yeah.
that is I'm not going to say admirable, but I think that it's just very cool that that's where you sort of started using your superpowers for good in that way, because it is true. Like it's not something that is taught, and I mean it's been a long time since I was in school, but from when even with my kids, I don't think it's something that they're really teaching too much. I mean, you would think that'd be something now would be a lot more. I guess readily available or more part of curriculum or I guess more hyper
Mhm.
aware, right? But I don't know if that's necessarily the case nowadays.
Yeah, they started to put social emotional learning into the
Okay,
curriculum. But,
that's good.
after I had a taste of this, where, I got to do something that I love again after
Mhm.
all those years back in LA, I just wanted to keep going. So after a year, the district put a stop to the program and I could no longer do it. And this time, instead of giving up, I just said, I'm going to think bigger, like
Right.
what else can I do? How else can I serve in this way? And that's when I was introduced to coaching and the online coaching world. And I just kind of followed the trail and I ended up resigning. It was that, we all have those big milestones that happen, right? Where
The
you kind of
aha
look
moment.
back, you look back and evaluate your life. And mine was 40. And I just like was getting ready for work, looking in the mirror, and I just cried. I just broke down. I said, "How did I get to 40? How did I get here?" And I'm
Right.
doing everything I was told to do. I followed the rules. I did everything. But I didn't get the whole certainty and stability package. I still wasn't married or had kids. And I said, I think it's time that I take my life back and I start doing things my way because I matter. It was the first time that I really loved myself or thought I was
Right.
worthy of anything. So that's when I decided to resign. I finished out my year and I walked out, and that was June of 2019. And if I can do it, anybody could do it. So I like helping people to believe in themselves and achieve their goals.
Yeah, and I think that I'm thanks for sharing that story, because once again, I think it's so important. And I've had so many guests come on since I've been doing the show over the last, I guess, a little over a year now. And it's everybody has a very similar story, but I just think it's so important for people to hear, because I think for a lot of people out there, sometimes you get really stuck and you start to really think like, I can't get out of this. I can't make the change, or I'm too old to make the change, right? Oh,
Mhm.
I'm in my 40s, or I'm in my 50s, or I'm too old to make the change. I just might as well stay here. And that just isn't the case. Like, you do not have to be stuck in something you don't want to be doing, right? And there's
Yeah.
ways, like, now it didn't now here's the other thing. It doesn't happen overnight. As everybody can hear, like Nikki's, it wasn't like she just decided the next day it was like done. Like, you just heard, it's an evolution, it's a process, it's something that you're on a discovery, and you found out things, and you rediscovered parts of like what makes you happy. And I think that that's also really important to note too, is that there's no shortcut to things. There's no, can we just speed this up or something like that? Like, it's a process and a journey. Everybody has their own individual way of experiencing this, but I just think it's key, once again, because it's a very similar, people go, when you finally start going down that path, it all sort of leads to that one place, that spark, that like, I'm doing this. Like, I'm gonna make this
Mhm.
happen. This is the kind of life I want to lead. This is what makes me truly happy and passionate. And I think that that's really, really important for everybody to understand. And I love how you said that, if you can do it, anybody can do it. And it's true. It's so true.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so I think that mindset is is a big part of it.
Right.
And I spent 15 years teaching because I believed that was all that I could do. I told myself the excuses. Well, how can I start over again while I'm on my own and I have a mortgage to pay? Maybe I'll wait until I get married. And then
Right.
and this was the story that I was telling myself, right? And that's what we do. We tell ourselves stories, but you've got to question who says. And I always look at it. If there's any other human doing what you want to do or being who you want to be, then you can do it too, right?
Absolutely. It's 100% agreed. I mean, and like, listen, I know everybody's got their own situation of what they're dealing with on their own level. And so, don't take it that so flippant that like, hey, you just make it happen. Like, everybody has their own thing that they have to deal with to get to the point that they want to, that to get out of, or challenges to overcome, or whatever they are. There's a lot of them, but it does start with for me, as I've always thought, it does start with the mindset shift. I mean, you have to want it, right? You really want to have
Mhm.
to believe in this fact that this is something that, if this is what truly makes you happy, like it makes your existence happy in this world, like, then you will eventually find a way to make it happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. And also, too, like even for me, I was waiting to have all my ducks in a row. I was
Yeah.
waiting to replace the teaching income. And then there came a point when I said, I want to take a leap and I want to have faith that as long as
Mhm.
I'm doing what I love, that somehow, some way I'll be supported. I made it to 40 and I was still okay, right?
Right.
So I was going to trust in that. So sometimes, it's taking some chances, right? As long as it feels aligned, and it felt. And I will say, I was scared. Of course, it's scary to walk away from a paycheck,
Of
right?
course. Oh
You
yeah,
know,
of course.
it
It's
was
it's a
it was
tremendous risk.
yeah, tremendous. And I felt the fear, I felt excited, and I also felt this peace, this calm on the inside. And I said, that's it. That's what I'm going to trust. I'm going to trust that it's gonna work out. So
Yeah, and I do. I like what you're saying there too, because I think it is like, for you, you found that spot, right? You found that feeling, and you found what really worked for you. And this is what I love, though, that you've developed over, these years. And in doing this is how you're now helping other people find that calm space in them. Because
yeah.
listen, everybody's different, right? So what makes you calm and put you in that spot isn't going to be the same for me, isn't going to be the same for somebody
Mhm.
else. But there are ways that you can utilize to help them find that, right? To help them get to that
Yeah,
spot.
exactly.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I love that that's one of the things that you're working on and that you're doing, and I like your whole like I just your whole mantra of like mindfulness and money and minds. It's just it's so cool. Like I just think that that's because it does all blend. You know, everybody thinks that like,
Mm-hmm.
well, I'm just gonna make $1 million, and like write it down, write it down. Like you should write it down because write it down and think about like okay, well, how am I going to do that? But then start thinking about how can I do that? And you may think, oh, this is completely unrealistic. It's not. You probably aren't going to get there in 30 or 60 days, like some other people promise. But,
Mm-hmm.
but the thing is it is attainable. And you just begin to think, well, how can I make that happen? What are the things that I can do in my life to begin getting to that goal? And
Yeah.
that's how it usually starts, right? I mean,
That's how it starts. Yeah, having the vision, being able to see it. That's one thing. And another thing is also releasing any fear around it. There's so many people, especially entrepreneurs that will, have these, 6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure in my business. And then there's this part of them that has some fears around what too much money will bring them, like more responsibility or losing family or friends, because now how are you going to relate? So there's
right.
lots of fears that come up, and you've got to work through those as well so that you're in alignment with what you want.
Yeah, and it's so important. It's so important because you have to be aligned with you got to be aligned with yourself before you can go and obtain any goal. Like, is that
Yeah.
really what you want, or is it that
Hmm.
you want to have a cottage in the middle of the woods? Like, what is it at the end of the day that you really want? That's success for you. Like, what is your version of happiness? You know, and
Yeah.
everybody don't think about what everybody else's version of happiness is. Like,
Yeah.
what's your version of happiness? So.
Great point, Chris. Yeah. What is your version of happiness? I can't tell you how many times I'm talking with somebody, whether they're a client or a prospective client, and I ask them what they want, and they tell me what they don't want. I mean, I do it too. I'm guilty.
Right,
I
of
mean,
course.
even with simple things like, what do you want for dinner? Well, I don't want chicken. We had that 3 nights in a row. Well, that's not what I asked you. I asked you, what do you want?
Yeah, exactly. What do you want? And it's a harder question to answer sometimes because you're like, wait a second, you're right. What do I want? Like, what
Yeah.
is the thing that I ultimately want? And
Yeah.
you may come up with a bunch of them, or you may like deer in headlights. Like, yeah, exactly. I'm so busy about thinking of things I don't want that I haven't actually thought about the thing I do want or the things I want. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important, and it's something that like I think I've talked about it 100 times on this show with everybody. But one of the things my mentor always told me from when I started in business over 20 years ago, he said to me that the one thing he sees that people don't do anymore, and this is something he learned to do because he was told, is see people just don't sit and think enough anymore. Like just
Mm.
scheduling time to really sit and think about those things. Like if you want the $1 million in your life, okay, well sit and think, how are you going to get there? Like whatever it is, like you want, what are the things that actually make you happy? Like when was the last time you've actually sat down and just focused on it and thought about it and wrote these things down? So, and I always
Mhm.
love that because I always come back to it and yeah, you do. I schedule time. You got to schedule time because otherwise then you go,
Oh, yeah.
I just don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time. And it's like, you know, find 30 minutes, find 15 minutes in your day where you can just like block everything out and go, I'm just going to sit and think about this
Hmm.
exact thing. What makes you happy? What is your happiness? What is that thing? So you can answer that question.
Yes, and I do the same thing. And you know what? Not that this is the right way, it's just what works for me, but I like doing it first thing in the morning. I mean, it's one of the
Mm.
things that gets me excited to get out of bed is having my morning routine. Make a cup of coffee, sit down, meditate, journal, even read. I just before I let the world in, I
Yeah.
just want my quiet time, to get grounded and start my day off. For
Yeah.
me, what is right.
It's a good idea. I should start reading more in the morning than like trying to read. I always find it
Mhm.
so hard to read at night. So maybe I should start doing that in the morning. I like that idea. You just gave me a really good idea.
Yeah, see that?
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah. I
Show's
mean,
over, everybody. I got what I
yes,
want.
that's it. See ya.
See you guys. Bye. No, but I really do like that. That's a really good idea. I should start integrating that in because I always want to read and I wind up doing it at night and I'm just so like not I don't know. I'm not absorbing it. My mind's tired. I just can't.
Yeah.
So I should start doing it first thing in the morning.
First
So
thing. Yeah. And I commit to just a minute. I mean, with a lot of things, if you
right.
could, it's just getting started, right? And
Yeah.
once you get started, you like look at Netflix. Look how,
Right.
you get into your show and it just keeps playing, because most humans will just sit there and allow the next show to continue. And we'll
Yeah.
do the same thing with habits like reading. You'll start with one page and you'll find that you're 5 pages in.
Yeah. No, I like that. Like that a lot. Well,
Mhm.
thank you.
You're welcome.
So I want to talk to you a little bit, because this is something you and I were talking about prior to coming on, because I think this is a great time. And so while this episode will live on forever, I think especially this time of the year, but this is something we deal with all the time. I just feel like everybody's a little more heightened now because it's the end of the year. We're in the holidays. There's 1,000 things going on. And, we're also like, getting connected again and seeing each other in person. People haven't seen each other in a long time. So there's a lot of extra. There's a lot of extra energy out there that like people don't know what to do with or how to deal with, and it's external and it's internal. And so, but you created this really cool method, the calm method. And so I want you to have the opportunity to talk about that, because you were starting to tell me about it. I was like, oh my God, save it for the show. I want you to tell everybody.
Yeah, I created the calm method. It literally I woke up and it was just, you ever have that? Like this idea, you wake up and it's like,
Oh
whoa,
yeah.
where'd that come from?
Like it was there the whole time. It
It
just
was there
needed
the whole
time to
Yeah,
like get in the front.
exactly. Yeah. So I woke up and I was like, calm. And I just, it's an acronym for 4 steps to go from any unwanted emotion to feeling good, right? So you could go from
Yeah.
stressed, angry, frustrated, to feeling positive, happy, satisfied. And if you want, I could take everybody through the 4 steps
Yeah.
right now. Yeah. So step 1 is the C, which is to become conscious of how you're feeling. I mean, how often do you check in with yourself during the day, right? Like, how am I doing? Right?
Yeah. No, exactly. I think it's great. It is a great way. You should check in with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Make yourself number 1.
Yeah.
Put the oxygen mask on you
Right.
first. Right? So it's because sometimes we don't know what we're thinking, right? What neuroscience shows, tens of thousands of thoughts, on average 60,000 thoughts a day.
Right.
So we don't always know what we're thinking. And a lot of times the thoughts are unconscious. So you're not even aware of it. But you always know how you feel if you check in with yourself, right? Like, how am I feeling right now? What am I feeling right now in this moment? So that's the C. Really simple, right?
Yeah.
Just become conscious. We have to just slow down a little bit. We tend to want to just stay busy, right?
Right.
You might know that you're feeling a certain way, so you go on social media, or you'll just do something I don't want to deal with that. I'm going to distract myself. So I'm saying, become conscious and let yourself sit with it. Right? It's just an emotion. That's it. So that's the first step. The second step, the A, is to become aware. What are the thoughts that I'm thinking? What am I focused on right now? Because our thoughts always precede emotion. If you notice that you're feeling, let's say, frustrated, it's because you're having frustrating thoughts. So become aware, like, what am I thinking right now? And then I'm a big advocate of putting things on paper, like get it out of your head, the head trash, like you mentioned, and write it down on something. And look at those thoughts and ask yourself, like a lawyer would in a court, is this true? Like, put your thoughts on trial. Are these facts, or are they just beliefs or worries or projections? So that's the second step. The third step is the L, and that's lean into what else is possible. So if you just showed yourself on paper that these are not facts, that they're just worries, then what else might be true? What's another option? And then the M is to make a new decision. So what are you going to decide right now in this moment that makes you feel better, and then you feel more empowered? So we can run through a specific example if you'd like to make this tangible.
Yeah, let's do it.
For the people listening.
Yeah, for anybody listening right now, or once again on the replay, or watching, listening live. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so we could take any topic that you want, or I can use an example of a client of mine.
Unless somebody comments. But yeah, why don't you use an example and we'll see if someone checks in.
Okay, cool. So there was somebody I was working with, and she was feeling resentment and frustration. And so she became conscious of this. First, step one, how am I feeling? Feeling resentment, and I'm feeling frustration. And then step two, what am I thinking? What are the aware of the thoughts? So she was, this was right in the beginning of the pandemic. And, kids were home from college. She was always working home. She's a coach as well. And her kids kept interrupting her, just, mom, this, that. And she was getting frustrated. And some of the thoughts were, they must think this is not a real job. They don't respect what I do. Maybe I should just, get a real job. Maybe this is a joke, what I'm doing. These were some of the thoughts she was having, which of course, if you're going to think those thoughts, you're going to feel frustrated, right? And even some resentment. So then Elle leaned into what else is possible. Well, she realized that those were not facts. It was just her beliefs, essentially. So some other possibilities was that, well, maybe my kids are just excited to be home from college and they want to spend time with mom. And then when she had that thought, since we attract like thoughts, she thought, how lucky am I that my kids, 19, 20, still want to spend time with their mother when a lot of them don't want to. So now she started to feel grateful and love and appreciation. So then she made a new decision, and she said, right here right now in this moment, I feel loved, that my kids want to be with me. And so those were just the 4 steps. So she was able to go from the frustration to feeling appreciation and love and thankfulness that she does work home and she can take those breaks to spend time with her kids.
That's really cool. I was like so engrossed in like the whole story there, but I think it's that's a great example though. I think it's a really wonderful example to share with everybody, because it really does. I think it really frames it and makes it a little bit more, accessible, I think, in that way. But I think I think everybody can relate to that. I think there's a lot of parallels for, a lot of folks out there who are, who feel that same way. And what I like about your method here too, is it's nothing overcomplicated. It really isn't, it's not like this whole elaborate methodology to help you find your center, basically. But it is a journey though, that I think everybody's, they have their own experience.
Oh, absolutely. And like anything else, the more you do it, the easier it gets. And you'll find that eventually you'll notice that you just start going through it without even thinking about it. I did it this week, actually, Chris. I mean, because I'm human, right? So I'm going to assume things that aren't true. And I did it with, because I have the luxury of working from home and I have flexibility in my schedule. My brother had asked me to go let his dog out because he's working at a school. And then he's like, oh, and I had an Amazon delivery. Can you also run by and you make sure you bring the package in? I don't want anybody to take it. And then I thought, what does he think? That I have nothing better to do? That this is not a real job? It was like the same thing as my client. Right. And then I was like, okay, let me lean into what else is possible and, and then make a new decision.
Yeah.
And then I felt better. So you can do it over and over again with any subject, any topic. You could be in the store food shopping and somebody's too close to you.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, what's wrong with this person? They have no concept of personal space and blah, blah, blah. And it just makes you like really pissed. Yeah. And then you can just take yourself calm, CALM. That's it. You feel better.
I like it. Yeah. You immediately feel your blood boil and you get anxious. Like, why are you so close to me?
Right. I know. Yeah. Yeah.
No, but I agree. I mean, it is, you do need those things to help you sort of like not like lose it. Really. Right. And I think as we were just talking, I mean, during this time in particular, as we're recording this episode, we're in December, it's the holidays. So, I feel like there's a lot of opportunity to use this method. I really, I mean, you think about all that. I'm sure everybody watching and listening can relate, because I mean, we just came out of a Thanksgiving holiday and there's that, and then it just goes, and you're around family and friends. You haven't seen anybody, you're going to parties and networking, and it just feels like it's a nonstop roller coaster, and then then you roll into the new year, and then it's just like, okay, here we go, we're starting all over. And even that in itself can kind of feel very like, oh my God, here we go into another new 12 months of like the unknown. And, it's easy to get very worked up and to get anxious about those thoughts.
Exactly. It is. And you'll find that when you start doing this also, you will have more clarity. A lot of times we're confused on things like, I don't know what I should do. And it's usually because you're caught up in all these thoughts, right? And it just gets overwhelming. It clouds your judgment. So as you're starting to calm down, you're more clear-headed and it's easier for you to make decisions and also have some great ideas. The ideas, imagine them like they're all just floating around and it's like, who's in tune with the idea? And that's who's going to get the idea first.
Yeah, I love that because that is true. Like, sometimes we're thinking so hard about ideas, and it's usually like when we finally calm down and let ourselves go, and we're not thinking about that idea at all, that then the idea comes to you, and it's like it hits you, and you're like, oh my gosh, like I was working so hard to get it, and it's like just trying too hard instead of letting it like really percolate and like come happen organically.
Yeah. And actually, that's how the whole calm method came about. I was going to be doing a workshop on sales mindset. And the woman hosting it said, Nikki, I don't think that's appropriate right now. It's like the height of the pandemic. She's like, people are afraid. Can you do something else? And I'm like, this was last minute. I'm like, oh, sure. Okay. And I was sitting at the table and I was trying to like, what should I do? Like, you know what? I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to sleep on it. And my intention is to wake up with an idea. And that's when I woke up and it was like, boom. COLM.
Yeah, you let your subconscious do the work.
Exactly. I love leveraging that subconscious mind.
Got it. You got to use it. That's where all the good ideas come from.
That's right. Exactly.
Well, this has been awesome. This has been a really great conversation. I've really enjoyed this, and I hope everybody who's watched and listened with us live, and everybody who's listening to the replay of this or watching the replay of this also found this to be a really valuable conversation because, I'm always fascinated by mindset work, and it's such a huge part of being able to accomplish the things you want to do, no matter what they are. I know we talk a lot about business on the show, or creative projects and things like that, but really this is something that, and I'm sure you're going to agree, Nikki, this is really what we're talking about here can be applied to anything that you're doing in your life.
Oh, absolutely. And Chris, you brought up business, and that I was going to give a quick example if I can.
Yeah, go ahead. Yes,
another
please.
Common thing, and this like one of my clients brought up to me, is I don't want to bother the people on my email list. She wants to promote a program that's coming out. And she's like, I just don't want to bother them and be too much. What if they unsubscribe? Here's a great chance to do calm, conscious of how you're feeling, worried, doubtful, right? And then aware of the thoughts. What if they unsubscribe? Well, who says, right? Start putting those thoughts on trial. I don't want to bother them. Who says you're bothering them? What if you're not bothering them? What's another option? Maybe there's somebody on my list that really needs what I have to offer. Maybe this is going to make a huge difference in their life. Maybe this is just the thing that they're looking for, and then making a decision. You know what? Now I feel really good to go ahead and put out that promo email. So you use this in business as well.
No, and I think it's so important to remember that. And I love that. I love that example that you just shared, actually, because it's something that I've helped coach people with is, what if this happens and what if this happens? And I go, and what if it does? That's fine. It's gonna happen sooner or later. That person just wasn't engaged with you anymore. Great, perfect. It's you don't have to worry about them anymore. And if you are, they'll unsubscribe. But once again, maybe they are waiting for that. Like they're here for a reason. They're in this space. So maybe this is just all about timing. You're going to send that email, and that's going to be exactly the thing that they need to see, hear, read, whatever. And that's going to be the thing that helps change their lives, which then helps, you eventually either get them as a client, retain them as a client, get that referral, whatever it is. So, don't assume anything, assume nothing. Really, you don't. You can't start getting in. This is what happens, right? We were just talking about this at the top. We create this weird matrix version of reality because we're just putting it inside our own head. Well, this is going to happen. And we come up with 1,000 reasons of why we can't do this or why we can't do that. And probably 99.9% of the time, all those thoughts are exactly wrong, but we're just us, or we're already making decisions for people that we don't even know why, how can I make a decision for that, about them, about me, like perceive this whole thing. It becomes a weird loop.
Exactly. It becomes a loop. So I say expect the best. And I don't know who said it originally, but that things are happening for you. Life is happening for you.
I love that. It
Yeah.
is. It's true. It's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. So just grab on and
Yeah.
enjoy the ride. And, you control the things you can control. And then the rest is just,
Yeah.
hey, go with it.
Yeah. You can control what's in here, what you choose to focus on, what you choose to think.
Exactly. 100%. Well,
Yeah.
once again, Nikki, this has been an amazing conversation. And, I, for one, am walking away very, energized, ready to go. I really enjoyed talking to you. I've enjoyed our talks offline as well. I find what you're doing fascinating and really wonderful, and I'm glad that you're doing it. So, thanks for providing all this great information for everybody today.
You're welcome. And thank you for having me, Chris. I appreciate it.
Yeah, 100%. So, for anybody that's been watching, I've been bringing up Nikki's contact information, all that. Of course, for those of you that are listening and can't see all these links will be in the show notes. But I'm going to throw it back to Nikki real quick, so Nikki can actually let you know like where are the best places to connect with her.
Sure. Thank you. So you can reach out to me. You can email me at my name, Nikki at mindfulmattersliving.com. You can go right to my website, which is nikkigangemi.com. Or you can give me a phone call, 609-388-8211.
Excellent. And the COM method we were talking about, which once again, the link will be in the show notes on this. You can get that right on your website as well.
Exactly. You would just go to the free resources page, or you can go to nikkigangemi.com/com-method.
Awesome. Well, once again, really glad that you could hang out with us today and talk to everybody here. Really appreciate you. And yeah, thanks for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you, Chris.
For sure. And I want to thank all of you for watching and listening today. As always, I appreciate all of your support here of the Rocket Live podcast and live stream and all the other places that it goes out to. I appreciate all of you who take the time to watch and listen and reshare the show as well and share it with everybody else. If you want to connect with me, you can do that directly right now by texting the words "Let's Rock," no spaces at all, just "Let's Rock" to 88500, and that will give you access to all my contact information as well as various links to download my personal branding checklist, to take my personal branding quiz, to join my Discord group, all kinds of great fun things, join a mailing list, all that great stuff. Of course, you can also head over to my website at rockitgrowthagency.com, where you can find once again, access to all these same resources directly there. All these links are in the show notes. And speaking of supporting the show, there's a couple ways you could do that. Obviously, we always love it when you could like, share, subscribe, follow, and all the places that you watch the show and all the places that you listen to the show. And you can also feel free to head over to buymeacoffee.com/cvaglio if you are so inclined to buy me a coffee, because I love my coffee and every little bit helps. So if you want to head over there, that would be great, and we'd be very, very appreciative. You'd have my undying appreciation forever if you went over to buymeacoffee.com/cvaglio. And to round it out, I once again want to thank the official show sponsor of Rocket Live, Kerry Zarb of kerryzarb.com. Kerry Zarb, podcasting marketing coach. Take the simple days of simple podcast marketing. She's developed it. She's figured it all out for you. Stop trying to figure out how to market your podcast. She's got it all ready for you. Head over to 7 Days Simple Podcast Marketing by heading over to kerryzarb.com/simple. And once again, you can get those links in our show notes. So with all of that, we want to thank all of you once again for watching and listening to us here on Rocket Live. We will catch you next time for sure. And remember, always be authentic, always be yourself, and always remember to rock it. Yeah.